couldn't be more clear. You can only get assistance if you cannot read or write any of the languages the ballot's in, or if you're physically incapable of manipulating the ballot or marking it. That's it. 2 reasons. Secretary of State's instructions to the county elections officials allow all kinds of stuff. Why? Because he's scared of being sued. Well, if we raise a little bit more money, we'll sue him ourselves and get this fixed. The Secretary of State is the second point. Watch what he does. Pay attention, because he affects you. 2014 in Harris County, we had voter ambush. Acorn's descendant, okay, Tops, hanging out in the parking lots of polling places, literally ambushing Hispanic female voters, taking them by the arm, going in and announcing themselves as the voter's assistant, and then taking over and voting. Okay? It's a war. Now, Harris County is not as red as Tarrant County. We're already in battles. Before every election day, I have a team of 7 volunteer lawyers who sit with me and prepare with me for that election. There are 2 appellate courts in Harris County, 1st and 14th. Why? The Texas Election Code gives the presiding judge of an election in a precinct the same authority as a state district judge. How many know that? A state district judge. The county clerk cannot tell them what to do if they choose not to obey them. The appellate court can. So we pre-file all kinds of writs and mandamus documents, and the first report we get of some rogue Democrat judge breaking the law, we're down there with a piece of paper stopping it. Okay? It's an issue. Voter registrations. Voter registrations are a mess. Voter registrations are a mess. In 2010 with True the Vote, we went through and we did open records requests for thousands of voter registration cards. How many here, raise your hand, be honest, know that a registered voter in a county can challenge the voter registration of anybody else registered in that county? Raise your hands. You can. You guys can challenge people who are phony. That year, we submitted challenges to 17,000 people on the rolls. 17,000. Leo Vasquez, the voter registrar at the time, threw all 17,000 off the rolls. And the next morning, the building with all of our election equipment burned to the ground. It's real, folks. It's real. They're not kidding around. But we don't get scared. Okay? We don't get scared. When people threaten to kill you, but you're infantry. Voter registration is phony. Mail ballot is a mess. Mail ballots are a mess. We tried to fix some of that in the last session. Okay? What are the 2 major venues for mail ballots? One is mail ballot harvesting. Those people work hard. They pay off a mail carrier to tell them when they're dropping off mail ballots in people's mailboxes. Then they drive behind them and take them out of the mailboxes and vote them. Or if they've already been taken out of the mailbox by the resident, they then knock on the door and offer to help them. Okay? Offer to help them. That's phony. That's happening all the time. In the last session, regular session and special session, we jacked up to felony status almost all coordinated efforts on mail ballot. We finally put some teeth in it. Thank you. We had been testifying for 3 sessions that one of the reasons we can't get, like Wisconsin, 44 convictions in 12 months is because our laws are too weak. We jacked them up this time, and if you've been watching Starr County down in the valley, there's one hotshot, good young DA down there that's got his 3rd arrest in 3 weeks. Because now it's worth it. It's fraud. It's jail time. We got to do that. All right? We got to do that. Now, your incoming county chair knows about this, but how many of you know and have heard of the Early Voting Ballot Board and Signature Verification Committee? Raise your hand. Okay, how many of you have served on the Early Voting Ballot Board Signature Verification Committee? God bless you. These dedicated people are down at central headquarters, and they look at every single mail ballot that comes in. They compare the signatures. They go back in history and look to see, is this the same person or is somebody else voting this ballot? Okay? In Harris County, in the 2016 general election, they had to look at over 115,000 mail ballots. They were all cross-eyed when they finished. My wife is on that team, and at 6:55 p.m. election night, the last mail ballot she got was from Vera in Afghanistan, voting by mail, and she cleared his ballot through. Our son came through. And the one minute after that, she got the mail ballot from the International Space Station from one of our astronauts who voted remotely, okay? Those people make a difference. They can stop some mail ballot fraud, okay? That's also the same group that votes thumbs up or down on provisional ballots. They decide, okay? Is that ballot going to count or not? Talk to your new county chair. Get involved. Volunteer. Okay? You make a huge difference in the election. Early voting ballot board signature verification committee. Now we come to the big one. The big one. Election day. Election day at the precinct. No, the problem's all mail ballots, isn't it, Alan? No. Mail ballots are a problem, but mail ballots only make up 10 to 15% of all the votes cast. 85 to 90% of the votes cast in every election is someone coming to a place and voting. Okay? What's going on? Why is it now that for the last 4 years, as we do open records requests, county after county, precinct after precinct, we see a growing trend of the following finding? Brace yourselves. 33% of precincts have more votes than voters. You count the number of ballots in the box or the number of ballots in the JVC machine, and you count the number of people who signed in the poll book, and there's a big discrepancy. There's more votes cast than there are voters. How does that happen? How does that happen? I'll tell you how it happens. Number one, the clerks at the front table are letting people in who aren't on the poll book. They're not in that precinct, and they're letting them vote a regular ballot instead of sending them over for provisional. Simple. You don't live here, no problem. In 2010, I volunteered to be one of the badasses for True the Vote who volunteered to be an alternate judge. I said, I'll help the Republican Party, but on one condition. You got to put me in the geographic center of Sheila Jackson Lee's CD18. They sent me there, okay? And the presiding judge, the presiding election judge there, had been running elections there for 40 years, had never seen a Republican, did not like me being there. And we had our first, she opened the door at 6 o'clock, we had our first fight at 6:05. She put a blue tape on the floor and told the poll watchers they couldn't cross that line. I got to the county clerk's office and they told her, pick up the tape. She got mad at me, so she punished me. By law, she's allowed to turn the alternate judge into a clerk. She says, I'm making you a clerk and you're gonna work both the books. Well, throw me in that briar patch. I get to decide who votes that day and who doesn't. 3,300 people came in to vote that day. 3,300. I sent 1,500 away. They weren't in that precinct. But what if we're not there, people? What if we're not there? Do you realize every precinct by Texas law has at least 2,000 voters and as many as 5,000? What if you're not there? Do you realize that the judge and the clerks on their own can sign every name in that book and vote? And who would catch them? Who would catch them? What else do they do? The judge, if they do get a provisional voter, checks the wrong box. The voter is voting provisional because they're not in the poll book, but the judge checks the box that says didn't have driver's license, didn't have the right ID. Well, the voter just drives to the county clerk's office in 6 days, shows photo ID, and the vote counts because the judge lied. That's how you get more votes than voters. The clerk that's working the ballots, if you vote electronically, they're dealing out little slips of paper with a ballot code that you plug in to vote. Or in paper ballot counties are handing out paper ballots. They just accidentally give more than one code slip or more than one ballot to the same voter. They're doing it. There's only 3 ways you can end up with more votes than voters. Those are the 3. And they're getting more bold about it. Yeah, send the AG after all the mail ballots. We've got this all hooked up right here. Guys, it's serious. It's serious. And why is it happening? Because we're not there. We're not there. In 2016, my youngest son, Adam, deployed to Afghanistan, just as his older brother had earlier deployed to Bosnia, just as their father deployed to Vietnam. just as their grandfather deployed to the South Pacific during World War II. Our young men and women warriors go to the other side of the earth for a year or more and lay their lives on the line for our freedom. But we won't be willing to go to the other side of the county for a day? To get up and just drive to the other side of the county for one stinking day to protect our freedom at the polling place? I'm not so much about educating as I am firing up. It's a shame to me. It's disgusting that our young people put their lives